Want to experience the North Island's best day walks but without following the crowds? There are roughly 400 of them in the North Island to choose from, yet most visitors queue for the same 4. After 35 years hiking New Zealand and building hundreds of travel itineraries, I've learned the best walks are often just minutes from the famous ones. In this video, I'll show you little known standout walks along a real North Island road trip. Let's get started. So to give you a bit of an idea on the scale of national parks and walks in New Zealand, we have about 13 national parks in New Zealand and 54 forest and conservation parks. You see that on that map here, so it's quite substantial. About 23% of the New Zealand land mass is actually in those protected areas. In the North Island alone, we have 3 national parks and 29 conservation areas. So here's another big number. In New Zealand alone, all over the place, we have 1,568 forest walks and hikes all up. You see this number here. So if you look at the map, it's just the scale of the whole thing is just phenomenal. So that is often what travelers struggle with. There are so many walks available and it's sometimes really hard to choose. But the good thing is that you have so many options and we're going through those options now in much more detail. So to make this all a little bit more realistic for you and a bit more visual, I've created this map for a classic kind of a route for the North Island, New Zealand. There are not all locations covered, obviously, but I have a dedicated sheet in the description box below you can download with all the walks in the North and the South Island. So there are many of them, but we go through in this video step by step, starting with Auckland and then working our way throughout the North Island to make sure that those key areas you would be traveling are covered with those really cool walks you would often miss. So we're back to the Department of Conservation site, which is responsible for all the walks and hikes in New Zealand. So I will link that in the description box below, as well as there will be other sites which are extremely helpful when planning your hiking. Okay, cool. So Auckland first. We got here a map of Auckland Central. My key recommendation if you arrive in Auckland, place yourself right in the center, somewhere in the CBD area. There are plenty of hotels. There's some boutique hotels, some apartment style, but the key advantage obviously is that you're central and that you actually can use those ferries going out into the 𝗧𝗪𝗃 harbor. So often when travelers arrive, they arrive quite early, like 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. I suggest to do a guided walking tour around the CBD. There's a couple of operators, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Find Tours New Zealand. I'll put links to the description box below. So it's fairly easy to do a central walk on your own as well. Here we have 𝗬𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗏 here on that side with all the beautiful racing boats and the yachts. That's one option, just a stroll, maybe half an hour. But a first option I want to point out is actually going over here to Devonport. Devonport is on the north shore, we call it, and it's only about a 10-minute ferry ride. And what you can do is actually go up to the Mount Victoria Reserve. It's all self-guided, or you can even, if you want to have a slower pace, you can walk along the parade reserve here and just make it an easy start into your day. I often see travelers very tired, very exhausted after long haul flights, so that's a perfect start. Right, so this is kind of like the basic hiking and walks in the Auckland region. The second option is you can go over to Rangitoto Island, and that's, again, it's a ferry ride, a little bit long, about 20-25 minutes or so, and you can either do here a coastal hike, or you can actually go to the top. It's an extinct volcano, so it's about 600 years ago that this one blew up the last time, so that's worth knowing. Once you're on that site, you can also click on these walking icons and some more information comes up, like here it's only 1 hour return on the shore, and going up to the summit is obviously a little bit longer, and just depends how you feel. This is 2 hours return. So a little bit further east of Rangitoto Island is 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Island. It's known for a bit more lifestyle. They have food and wine, especially beautiful wines, and there's a couple of walks you can do, though for those ones you want to have either a driver or you can get a rental car to explore the island on your own. There are also some guided tours which would include kind of wine tasting and food and so on. It's around about 40 minutes with the ferry from Auckland downtown. So if you like a little bit more raw nature and a bit more scenery as such, then you can also go to the western side, to the west coast, to the 𝗦𝗃𝗃𝗃 ranges. And here I probably would recommend to go with a local operator to do a guided tours. So here's one called Bush and Beach. I've been working with these guys for many years, and they really offer a great service. They pick you up in the Auckland city from your hotel and then basically transfer you to the best spots. As you can see, you got the native pigeons here, you got beautiful beaches, you got black sand beaches like Muriwai Beach and 𝗵𝗆 Beach. So that's another option to do a day trip, going out to the western ranges, to the west coast near Auckland. Now, if you're into something very different and very remote, then I would suggest Great Barrier Island. But it's about, a 45 minutes flight or 2-hour boat ride. But this is really off the beaten. And as you can see, there are lots of walks and hikes around. But you would need to stay 2 or 3 nights at least to make it worthwhile. So this is for people which want to actually experience much more remote places. So before we move to the next location, here is my travel planner, which I've built over time. This is actually a really good start for travelers which come the first time to New Zealand and you want to get a really good overview on what you can do in the time you have available. And I have also included, I will put a link in the description box for you. So next up, we're moving further south through Hamilton to the Waitomo Caves area. But before we go to the Waitomo Caves, I want to show you something really interesting. In Hamilton, we got the beautiful Hamilton Gardens. This is really worth your stop. It's around about 2 hours drive, maybe a little bit less, but this is an amazing place. You can easily stroll through. You can go for half an hour or an hour. They have different gardens. They have an Egyptian garden, they have an Italian garden. So it's a really variety and it's very much appreciated. And I highly recommend to have a stop here on your way south. So most travelers would do the Waitomo glowworm caves, which is absolutely fine, but there's a little hike which is not far away from the village. It's called the Ruakuri Walk, which is around about an hour or so. It's kind of limestone country. That's the reason, obviously, why these caves are around. So this is one I would highly recommend. Not many people doing it, so it's kind of like these, an easy stroll in that Waitomo area. So the next walk I would recommend is actually the 𝗪𝗔𝗃𝗃 Falls, which is located right here. It's about 30 kilometers, so let's say 40 minutes drive. There's a couple of places along the way which you can also check out. But let's have a quick look at the 𝗪𝗔𝗃𝗃 Falls, which is just stunning. Look at this. This looks like a decent waterfall. From memory, it's about 34 meters in height. It's a lush green forest. It's not a long walk, so it takes a little bit of effort to get there. But once you're there, it's a stunning area. Not many people visit that place. Again, I'll put the details for all the walks into the hiking sheet, which you can download in the description box below. So there's another walk, Bridal Veil Walk. Bit further south towards Raglan, which is really a beautiful area. But if you go there, you would probably need to stay in the area another night. So have a couple of nights and explore the area properly. Most people would travel from Auckland via Waitomo Caves, which is located here, and then they head towards Rotorua or Taupo, but it's just an option for you. Right, the next place is New Plymouth, Taranaki. This is one of the most underrated hiking areas in New Zealand, I reckon. We have here the Mount Taranaki National Park, which is also a resting volcano. Mount Egmont's about 2,580 meters high. In my younger days, walked up there first. So one option is the Veronica Loop Walk, which is right next to the North Taranaki Visitor Center. As far as I'm aware, they're just doing some renovations at the moment as the visitor center, which will reopen again in December 2026. So that's one option. The next one is the 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 reflection tent. That's probably one of the most famous one because it offers that spectacular view onto Mount Taranaki. So here's that classic picture with the tan in before Little Lake in front of you with Mount Taranaki, perfectly shaped mountain. And it's just a glorious area. I've been there a number of times and I always love to go back. Again, it's one of the most underrated national parks. You have to be aware there's quite a few steps. As I mentioned before, the mountain is 2,500 meters high. So if you're after some easier walks and tracks, then you could easily actually do this here in New Plymouth. There's a few sites I would suggest. Here is Paritutu Rock, which is obviously a little going uphill, so that's not that easy, but it provides you a great overview on the region. The next one I suggest is Pukakura Park, which is an amazing place just to stroll through. It's basically like the local gardens, as you can see, full of native bush, very easy to navigate, and you could easily do an hour or so here. And it's suitable for families and for people with less walking abilities. Or you could actually stroll along the beachfront here. There's also a cycle trail from the city center, and you can go all the way to the famous 𝗬𝗏𝗏 Bridge. Here's a couple of pictures. It's an amazing place, that Taranaki, the west coast of the North Island, as mentioned before, totally underrated. Many walks, hikes, and more serious stuff available there. So if you're keen on hiking and lifestyle, check this one out. If you find this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button below to stay in touch for more helpful travel videos to come. Also, please tick that little like box below as it helps our travel channel to grow. Thank you very much. Next, the Tongariro National Park. So the next section on our trip through North Island goes into the center part, to the Tongariro National Park. Here I have one key suggestion. If you want to have an amazing trip, I would suggest to go through the Forgotten Highway. It's called Forgotten Highway, from Stratford right through to Taumaranui, and then obviously you can connect to the Tongariro National Park. Most people would stay down here in Ohakune, but you can also stay in 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 village. There's a couple of places, which is a tiny village. I've done a dedicated video on the Tongariro National Park walks. So it's a key hiking area for international travelers. So most people come for the Tongariro crossing, which is around about 19 kilometers long, and it starts at 𝗥𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 road end and it finishes up here in the northern side, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Falls. I've done a dedicated video, so I don't want to go on about it, but it's a hard hike. You need to calculate on 7 to 8 hours, and you need to calculate weather conditions, which can change very fastly in this area. So I got a couple of options for you to consider. So here's the Tama Lake track, which basically runs straight from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 village. I'll just go a little bit further down here. You see the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 village here is the information center there as well, and it's a straightforward track. You got all the details here, as you can see. It's well defined. It's not too long. You can do the whole trip, 5 to 6 hours, but you can also do shorter walks in that area here. So this is one option. You get the same kind of experience in a way of the volcanic area. There are even some waterfalls here. So that is one option for you. Again, check out all the options. There are many more in the sheet, which I'll link in the description box below. Another one is the 𝗧𝗏𝗏 Falls tracks, which is a little bit further south. It's a very easy walk. It's about 20 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes. So this is another option which you can easily do even with a family. So now we're heading from the Tongariro area further north to Taupo, and here in Taupo there's a couple of walks I would recommend you to do. There's obviously the 𝗥𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Falls walkway, which is, 𝗥𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Falls is quite an important site where the Waikato River actually comes out of the Lake Taupo. But you can see here is that kind of gray line walk here along the way to the 𝗥𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Falls, the actual 𝗥𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Falls, where there are lots of people, but very few people visit here this kind of hike. It's around about a good hour or so. You can do it from the city area, or you can obviously do it from the 𝗥𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Falls. Lovely, lovely spot. So that's one option here in the Taupo area. Another option, a bit more challenging, is the Mount Tongariro summit trek. This is a 2 to 3 hour return. I'll just show you the map in a minute, but this is another planning site, Plan My Walk. I will put it into the description box below because they have a truckload of really, really good walks, very nicely described and laid out. So you can see here, this is the tracks just outside Taupo. Obviously, it's going up the hill. It's a beautiful hill when you can see it actually from town. So this is something you might want to do. Not many people do it. Here's a description of the whole thing. You gain 545 meters. So you need to have a little bit of good condition to do that one. So further north of Taupo is the 𝗥𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃 site, thermal site. So there's a lot of thermal areas in between Taupo and Rotorua. I made a video on that totally, but I like this one because it's a little bit off the beaten. Not that many people visit it. So this is like moon-like environment. You can walk through there. You don't have to book it, but it's a very cool kind of area. 1 or 2 hours you can do. You can do it en route between the Tongariro, Taupo and Rotorua further north. So this is one of my recommendation, 𝗥𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗃. Continuing north towards Rotorua, Waitomo, Thermal Wonderland. This is a much more busier place, so you can have a couple of pictures here. You have to pay an entry fee for that, and take 1 or 2 hours, you can do the loop walk. A little bit further north of Waitomo is the Waimangu Valley. I like that one because it's kind of like a half-day walk. You go into the valley here and you go towards Lake Rotomahana, and you can do actually a cruise with a small boat on that. The whole area is volcanic, very much very active tectonic area, so you get a lot of information, a lot of insight if you do a guided tour with a boat going on the lake. I would highly recommend that. That's what the central part of the North Island is really famous for those kind of 𝗙𝗂𝗃𝗂𝗯𝗏 hot pools, locations, and the walks which are associated with it. Very cool. I want to mention another place which is really off the beaten track. So if you stay for a few nights in the region, or even if you want to go further to the eastern side to Gisborne, there's a road between Waitomo area going right through to the 𝗬𝗏𝗆𝗆 National Park. Used to be national parks, no longer. But that is a lovely site here, the 𝗤𝗏𝗄𝗄𝗃 State Forest. Again, totally off the beaten. This is something for travelers which are seeking the kind of really heartland of the North Island. You need to be prepared. You need to have enough fuel, food and water with you to do that. Right, now we're moving further north. Just for your information, Matamata here, that's where Hobbiton is, not far away from the village. So you could, if you're interested in Hobbiton, you could include that. And then, but the main thing here for this video is to talk about the walks. And I have 2 or 3 options for you, which are quite unknown, or not many people do those, at least not internationals. Now we're just heading north now from Rotorua towards the Coromandel Peninsula, and on the southern end we have the 𝗥𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 Gorge Trail. So this is located straight on State Highway 2, as you can see here, and you can do a 40 minutes walk, you can do a 4-hour hike, whatever you have time to do. And it's very iconic really, because it used to be a railway system and they have tunnels as well, so it's used for bicycling as well. So very convenient if you're traveling to the Coromandel. Now you coming into the Coromandel Peninsula area, here you see east of Thames, you have the Tauranga Valley. In my younger days as a tour guide, I used to go there quite a bit with my guests to do some hiking. So you can see here is a road access into that. Let's have a quick look at the Department of Conservation side as we see a little bit more about those walks. So this is an interesting area. Historically, they used to do gold mining as well as felling the kauri trees. What you see here is actually a dam. They use the dams to collect the water and then flood the kauri logs down into the valley. So it's very interesting, but I could talk about that, but we want to talk about the walks. So here we are. So you drive into the valley from the Thames area, and as you can see, the road is getting unsealed at some stage, and there's a truckload of walks like the Billy Goat Walk. You can walk again for half an hour or an hour. You can go right up to the Pinnacles Hut. That is a stunning place, but that would be an overnight stay. But again, this is a great area for kind of hiking, walking, where not too many people will actually be there, except maybe some locals during the school holiday season, but otherwise this is pretty empty. So here on the other side, heading from the western side to the eastern side, so heading towards Hot Water Beach and so on, is Broken Hill area. You can do a 2 to 3 hour trek, or slower, a little bit less, but basically it's located not far away from that 𝗬𝗂𝗁𝗂𝗆, which is the main road heading over to the eastern side of the Coromandel Peninsula. And on the eastern side, the famous places, obviously, and here we have some walks, of course, too. 𝗁𝗂𝗆 Beach, Hot Water Beach down here. Then you have Cook's Beach, and you have Cathedral Cove, which is here. You see that here. This is the most busiest place in the summertime, with the famous cove and the beaches on the eastern side of the Coromandel. So again, use that app and use my sheet attached in the description box below. There are a truckload of really cool hikes in the area. Right now for the Coromandels, we're heading further north towards the Northland Bay of Islands region. So this is a region often people visit either at the beginning of their trip or at the end of their trip. So 3, 4, 5 nights is easily possible. So what I would suggest is actually traveling up the western side if you have that kind of time budget, and there's a number of walks here, beach walks outside Tongariro. What is famous here is the Waipua forest, the kauri forest. Again, I could go on and on and on about it, but I have done a dedicated video on the Northland Bay of Islands region as well. And I just want to point out a couple of hikes, walks, which are quite stunning. We go through the Hokianga Harbour area, and then we're heading further north, really towards Cape Reinga, which is the furthest northern point here in New Zealand. And there's quite a cool lighthouse, but apart from the lighthouse, there's actually also quite a cool walk. So let's dive into that for a minute. So this is the 𝗬𝗏𝗄𝗏 coastal track, and as you can see, there's actually a warning from the Department of Conservation that there's feral dogs roaming. So it's quite good to have these kind of informations when you use those websites. So this is basically the hike. You can do it multi-day, or you can just do it for a day trip, or can just go for a stroll here. Really, we're right at the top of New Zealand, North Island. We have on the western side the Tasman Sea, on the eastern side the Pacific Ocean. So that is one option. All the details is listed here, and I put all the links, as you know, into the sheet with all the walks and hikes. A little closer in the Bay of Islands region is the Rainbow Falls Walk. It's located just in 𝗬𝗁𝗁𝗃, which is one of the main villages here. You want to stay when you're in the Bay of Islands. Most people stay in 𝗺𝗆𝗃, but my preference is 𝗬𝗁𝗃𝗃. And this is basically just strolling along the riverside and coming to that magnificent waterfall. So that's a very easy walk for you to do. So now on your way back towards Auckland, you could also do the Te Whara track, which is a bit more serious, 5 to 6 hours, located just outside Whangarei. So this would be another option. But as I mentioned before, there's so many hiking and walking options. Use that app here, the Plan My Walk app. Download it in the description box below. Plus you can download my overview sheets with all the walks and hikes in the North Island. So here you have it. The crowded walks and the quiet ones are usually neighbors. 20 minutes of walking often beats 4 hours of serious hiking. In New Zealand, the limit is never the walking options. It's knowing what works best for you. Find links to the free walking sheet, the travel planner, and the 3 weeks itinerary in the description box below. Next week, I'm going to do a walking and hiking video on the South Island and Stewart Island. Check it out up here. See you in the next video.